Imagine standing alone in the middle of a forest 40,000 years ago. The sun has disappeared behind the mountains, and darkness is swallowing everything around you. Your only source of light is a small burning torch that barely reaches a few steps ahead. Every shadow looks alive. Every tree seems taller than before. Your breathing becomes slower as you carefully watch the ground beneath your feet. But there's one strange thing you refuse to do. You never look up. Not because you aren't curious, but because your ancestors believed that looking into the darkness above could be the last mistake of your life. Today, most people look at the night sky and see beautiful stars. Ancient humans saw something completely different. They saw uncertainty, hidden danger, and a darkness that could hide anything. But were they simply being superstitious? Or did they actually have a terrifying reason to fear what was above them? To understand this mystery, you have to forget everything you know about modern life. There were no streetlights, no houses, no flashlights, no fences. Once the sun disappeared, the world changed completely. Darkness wasn't just the absence of light. It was the beginning of a completely different battlefield. During the day, ancient humans relied mostly on their eyesight. They could spot predators from a distance, watch animal movements, and quickly react to danger. But at night, their greatest advantage disappeared. Human eyes are actually terrible in darkness compared to many predators. Big cats, wolves, and other nocturnal hunters could see far better than humans ever could. The moment night arrived, humans were no longer the hunters. They became the hunted. This is why ancient people learned an important survival rule. Keep your eyes where they matter most. The ground. Every step could hide a snake. Every bush could hide a predator. Every sound demanded attention. Looking up for even a few seconds meant taking your eyes away from the places where danger was most likely to appear. In the wild, a single distraction could cost your life. Your brain naturally focused on what gave you the highest chance of survival, not what satisfied your curiosity. Imagine you're walking with your family through a dense prehistoric forest. The moon is hidden behind thick clouds. Your torch crackles softly while everyone stays silent. Suddenly, you hear leaves moving somewhere ahead. Instantly, every person stops. Nobody looks at the stars. Nobody admires the sky. Every pair of eyes searches the ground, the bushes, and the spaces between the trees. Why? Because that's where death usually came from. Ancient humans weren't afraid of the sky itself. They were afraid of losing focus at the exact moment something attacked. But there was another reason, one even stranger. Thousands of years ago, humans understood almost nothing about the universe. They didn't know what stars were. They didn't know why the moon changed shape. They had never heard of planets, galaxies, or gravity. Every night, the sky became an enormous mystery filled with moving lights that nobody could explain. Bright stars suddenly appeared from nowhere. Meteors flashed across the darkness. Strange red moons sometimes frightened entire tribes. Solar and lunar eclipses seemed impossible to understand. To ancient minds, these weren't natural events. They looked like powerful signs from forces beyond human understanding. This uncertainty created stories. Every tribe developed its own explanations. Some believed giant spirits lived above the clouds. Others imagined enormous creatures watching from the darkness. Many believed the sky itself was alive. These stories weren't simply entertainment. They helped people explain things their brains couldn't understand. When knowledge doesn't exist, imagination fills the empty space. Fear grows naturally inside that imagination. Psychologists call this pattern agency detection. The human brain evolved to assume that unknown events are caused by someone or something. Imagine hearing a branch snap behind you. It's much safer to assume an animal caused it than to ignore it completely. Even if you're wrong most of the time, reacting quickly increases your chance of survival. Ancient humans applied the same instinct to the night sky. Strange lights? Something must be there. A sudden eclipse? Someone must have caused it. The brain preferred creating a false explanation rather than accepting complete uncertainty. Modern science has shown that this instinct still exists today. People naturally see faces in clouds, shapes in the stars, and figures in complete darkness. Your brain constantly searches for patterns because that's exactly what helped your ancestors survive dangerous environments. Looking into an endless black sky at night gave the brain almost no useful information. Instead, It filled the darkness with possibilities. Some possibilities were harmless. Others were terrifying. There's another fascinating reason humans avoided staring upward after sunset. Predators often attacked using surprise. Ancient forests were filled with climbing animals. Leopards, large cats, snakes, and other hunters frequently used trees as hiding places. Looking straight into the darkness above rarely helped because your weak night vision couldn't detect what was hidden there anyway. Instead, survival depended on listening carefully and staying aware of movement at eye level. Ancient humans learned that the smartest strategy wasn't searching the impossible darkness overhead. It was protecting themselves from dangers they actually had a chance to detect. Yet despite all this, the night sky never stopped fascinating them. Every generation looked up just enough to wonder, but never long enough to forget the dangers surrounding them. Somewhere between fear and curiosity, humanity began asking its very first questions about the universe. And those questions would eventually change civilization forever. But before ancient humans learned to understand the stars, they first had to survive the darkness hiding beneath them. The darkness above ancient humans didn't only hide mystery. It also hid uncertainty, and uncertainty is something the human brain has always feared more than almost anything else. Imagine walking through the wilderness with nothing but a small torch in your hand. You know predators are somewhere nearby, but you don't know where. Every sound forces your brain to make hundreds of tiny decisions every minute. Should you stop? Should you run? Should you climb? Should you hide? Looking into the empty black sky couldn't answer any of those questions. It only distracted you from the dangers that actually mattered. Over thousands of years, evolution rewarded humans who stayed focused on their surroundings instead of the endless darkness above. Modern neuroscientists believe our brains are prediction machines. Every second, they try to guess what will happen next before it actually happens. This ability helped ancient humans survive impossible environments. But predictions only work when information exists. During the day, the brain could read footprints, broken branches, moving animals, and changing weather. At night, almost all of that information disappeared. The sky became an enormous black canvas with very few clues. Instead of helping, it overloaded the imagination. The less people could see, the more possibilities their brains created. And in survival, the safest possibility was always the worst one. Think about standing beneath a giant prehistoric tree. You hear something move above you. Was it the wind? A monkey? A snake? A hunting leopard? You couldn't know. Ancient humans rarely climbed trees at night because they understood one simple truth. If something dangerous was already above them, they were entering its territory. Large predators often used height as an advantage, waiting patiently before attacking from a position humans couldn't easily observe. Looking up into complete darkness only reminded them that they couldn't see what might already be watching them. This fear wasn't irrational. Even today, many predators rely on camouflage and patience instead of speed. Leopards are famous for resting on tree branches almost invisible to animals below. Large snakes wrap themselves around branches without making a sound. Owls silently observe the forest from above before striking their prey. Ancient humans didn't know these animals through biology books. They learned about them through painful experience. Every dangerous encounter became another lesson passed from one generation to the next. Parents warned children where not to walk, when to stay quiet, and where never to look for too long after sunset. But something even more fascinating was happening inside the human mind. As people spent more nights under unfamiliar skies, they began connecting stars into shapes. One group saw hunters. Another saw animals. Others imagined giant spirits protecting or punishing humanity. None of these constellations actually existed. The stars were simply random points of light separated by unimaginable distances. Yet the brain naturally connected them into meaningful patterns. This ability, called pattern recognition, helped humans survive because finding patterns often meant finding food or avoiding danger. The same brain that recognized animal tracks on the ground also searched for meaning in the sky above. Over time, those imagined patterns became stories. Those stories became traditions. Eventually, traditions became beliefs. Before written language existed, ancient people explained the universe through storytelling. If a bright comet suddenly crossed the sky, someone believed it carried a message. If strange lights appeared during the night, they became signs of powerful beings. Looking upward wasn't simply looking at stars anymore. It meant entering a world filled with mysteries no human could answer. Interestingly, archaeology shows that many prehistoric sites were built with remarkable awareness of the sky. Certain caves and monuments align perfectly with sunrise, sunset, or important stars. This proves ancient humans weren't ignoring the sky forever. They observed it carefully, but usually during safer moments when danger was lower. They respected the heavens, yet they also feared the unknown darkness surrounding them. Curiosity and caution existed together, balancing survival with discovery. Imagine being the first person in your tribe brave enough to study the stars for longer than everyone else. At first, people might think you're wasting time, but slowly you begin noticing patterns. The same stars return every season. The moon changes shape in predictable ways. Certain constellations appear before winter arrives. Suddenly, the sky changes from something terrifying into something useful. This was one of humanity's greatest turning points. Fear slowly transformed into knowledge. Even today, that ancient conflict still exists inside us. We love looking at the stars, yet many people feel uncomfortable standing alone beneath a dark sky for too long. It's a strange mixture of wonder and fear. We know nothing is hiding behind the stars, but our ancient survival instincts don't completely disappear. They quietly remind us that darkness once belonged to predators, not humans. And then came the discovery that changed everything. Ancient humans realized the sky wasn't just something to fear. It was something that could help them survive. The same stars that once filled them with terror would eventually become the world's first map, guiding people across forests, deserts, mountains, and oceans. But before humanity learned to navigate by the stars, they first had to overcome one of their oldest fears: the fear of looking into the unknown. The moment ancient humans stopped fearing the night sky was the moment humanity took its first step towards civilization. But that change didn't happen overnight. It took thousands of years of observation, courage, and survival. Every generation learned something the previous one didn't know. One tribe noticed that certain stars always appeared before winter. Another realized the moon controlled the tides. Others discovered that the position of the sunrise changed with the seasons. Slowly, the terrifying darkness above transformed into humanity's oldest classroom. Imagine an ancient hunter standing outside his cave after sunset. Instead of immediately lowering his head in fear, he quietly watches the stars for a few extra seconds. Night after night, he notices that the same bright star always rises from the same direction. Weeks later, he realizes it appears just before the migration of the animals his tribe depends on for food. Without knowing it, he's making one of the first scientific observations in human history. Curiosity is beginning to replace fear. This is one of the greatest turning points in our evolution. Fear kept humans alive, but curiosity helped them grow. If our ancestors had remained terrified of everything they didn't understand, civilization might never have existed. Someone had to take the risk of asking questions. Someone had to stay awake a little longer. Someone had to look into the darkness instead of running away from it. That courage slowly transformed myths into knowledge and survival into discovery. Scientists believe this balance between fear and curiosity is one of the reasons humans became so successful. Too much fear would stop exploration. Too little fear would lead to unnecessary deaths. Evolution favored people who respected danger but still searched for answers. Ancient humans didn't conquer the night because they became fearless. They conquered it because they learned when fear was useful and when curiosity was even more valuable. Today, the night sky no longer decides whether we survive until morning. We have electricity, telescopes, satellites, and scientific explanations for nearly everything our ancestors once feared. We know stars are giant balls of burning gas. We understand eclipses, comets, and meteor showers. Yet something fascinating still happens whenever we stand beneath a completely dark sky. We instinctively become quieter. We look around more carefully. We feel smaller than usual. That's because the modern world has changed much faster than the human brain. The brain inside your head is still running survival software written tens of thousands of years ago. It still reacts to darkness, sudden silence, and the feeling of being watched. That's why so many people dislike walking alone at night, even in places they know are safe. It's why children naturally fear dark rooms without anyone teaching them. Is why horror movies often begin by showing a lonely person looking into the darkness above. Filmmakers understand something ancient humans discovered long ago: the unknown is often more frightening than the danger itself. Think about the last time you looked up at the night sky far away from city lights. For a moment, you probably felt something difficult to explain. Maybe it was wonder. Maybe it was peace. Maybe it was the strange feeling that the universe is unimaginably large. That emotion connects you directly to every human who has ever lived. Your ancestors looked at those same stars with fear. You look at them with understanding. But you're both looking at exactly the same sky. Perhaps that's the most beautiful part of this story. The stars never changed. Humanity did. The sky that once represented death eventually became a guide for travelers. The darkness that once terrified entire tribes became the path to astronomy, navigation, calendars, and eventually space exploration. Every satellite orbiting Earth today exists because someone, thousands of years ago, found the courage to keep looking upward instead of looking away. So, did ancient humans really never look up at night? Not exactly. They simply understood that survival came first. They looked only when it was safe, only when curiosity was stronger than fear, and only after making sure the dangers around them were under control. Their caution wasn't ignorance. It was intelligence shaped by one of the harshest environments humans have ever faced. The next time you step outside on a clear night, pause for a moment and look at the stars. Remember that the same sky once terrified your ancestors. Remember that every scientific discovery began with someone asking a simple question while staring into the darkness. And remember that somewhere deep inside your mind, a tiny part of your ancient brain is still whispering the same warning it whispered 40,000 years ago. Stay alert, because the unknown has always been watching.